You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside or stories that have been forced up beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, let us worship together. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. My name is Jessica Sanchez, and I am your service leader today. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you for coming today and spending your time with us this Sunday morning, whether enjoying in person or watching online. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. After the service, we invite you to go downstairs for coffee and conversation in our reception hall. If you wouldn't mind now taking time to silence your phones, but if you would like to share your presence with us on social media, please do. For our announcements today, just wanted to mention again that we are still collecting diapers and wipes for the shelter that we support, which has over 30 young children and residents. If you're out shopping and you're able, please bring any wipes and any size diapers, and you can place them in the white bin in the foyer or downstairs in the red bin. The Social Justice Committee is always available to answer any questions that you may have about those donations. We also have our free little free pantry. It's become very popular, so we really want to keep those donations coming. There is an information table downstairs in our reception hall, Adams Hall. I believe that there are some papers there that have a whole list of all sorts of items you can bring, and that would be great if you want to go shopping. Take one of those with you, take a picture of it to remind you of items that you could, bring and add to that little free pantry. So again, you can leave those donations downstairs at the red bin. Oops. Sorry, I have these a little out of order. Our UUCF book club is coming up, and that'll be on March 3rd. We started at 7 p.m. downstairs in Adams Hall. So this month we're discussing Michael McBride's memoir, The Color of Water, a Black Man's Tribute to His White Mother. I really liked this book when I read it a couple years ago, and I'm actually really, really excited to read it again. So if you would like to read it and you need a copy, I know that the Southfield Public Library had this as one of their book clubs books years ago, so there's at least 10 copies there if you're able to get it from that location. So, and I do have Kyle coming up to talk to us a little bit about our minister search, which is ongoing, and he has some updates.
Yeah, good morning. So when I last spoke with y'all in start of February, we had one minister candidate. I wanted to just give an update that we currently have 3. 2 have completed first interviews. 1 is scheduled for a first interview coming up, and we have 1 that is scheduled for their second interview. So that's all. I can answer questions after service, but just wanted to keep everyone in the loop.
You can come up. All right, and then we also had our spaghetti dinner last Friday night. So thank you to everyone who participated in that spaghetti dinner. It was absolutely delicious, and a special thanks to Linda Brown for shopping and cooking. And also to Marion Moyer for also helping to serve the food. And then also we wanted to give a shout out to the fundraising committee who helped organize and also clean up. If you missed it, make sure you are available maybe to attend the next one on Friday, March 20th from 5 to 7 p.m. And again, this is eat-in or takeout. So highly recommended to RSVP. So there will be, I think, an RSVP that will come out, and that way we'll have a better idea of how much food we need to purchase and make. Also coming up is our trivia night. It's going to be on Saturday, March 7th at 6:30. Usually it's in Adams Hall downstairs. So if this was an auction item, if you didn't bid on it, but you still want to join, you can contact Karen DeGay to register, and there she is. The cost is $10 per person. So we have some opportunities for connection this week. Monday is our AA meeting, and there's also a choir practice meeting. We also have our Tuesday men's lunch, and Friday, this coming Friday, I believe, is our Crafters in Community. So you can come, work on any kind of project you're working on, and chit-chat, have some snacks. And then Saturday, this coming Saturday, is a church cleanup. So there's a part of the church that we pick every month or two from 9 to 12 to help, organize and kind of spit polish. So. And as always, you can check our website at uufarmington.org to see what other upcoming events might be happening in our community. We begin our service by lighting the chalice, which is the symbol of the faith that we share. And we're going to speak our words from our mission statement. So please join me in reading the words behind me. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. Please rise as you're willing and able for our hymn from the Teal hymnal, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. So welcome to our religious education coordinator, Argo Kramer, as he leads us in our message for all ages. Yeah, that's the plan.
Hello, as said, my name is Argo, and I lead the religious education here. Who knows what our theme for February is? We are, and adults too, we are doing something. Talia? That was January. It's close though. They kind of built. They kind of built on top of each other. This month last month we practiced resistance. This month we're embodying resilience. So we've done a couple of things with our bodies. We did a lot of meditation that first week when we talked about nature. Last week we embodied resilience by doing art. And this week we're talking about embodying resilience in a different way. And the book I have for you today is Ruby Finds a Worry. Ruby Finds a Worry, written by Tom Percival. Ruby loved being Ruby. She loved to swing up high, and she loved to explore wild, far away places. Sometimes she even went all the way to the very bottom of the garden. Ruby was perfectly happy until one day she discovered a worry. It wasn't a very big worry. In fact, it was so small that at first Ruby hardly noticed it. But then the worry started to grow. Each day it got a little bit bigger. It just wouldn't leave her alone. It was there at breakfast, staring at her over the cereal box, and it was still there at night when she brushed her teeth. The funny thing was that no one else could see Ruby's worry, not even her teacher. So Ruby pretended that she couldn't see it either. She tried to carry on as if everything was normal, but it just wasn't. The worry was always there, stopping her from doing the things that she loved. Ruby wondered if the worry would ever go away. What if it didn't? What if it stayed with her forever? Ruby didn't realize it, but she was doing the worst thing you can ever do with a worry. She was worrying about it. And now the worry was enormous. It could barely fit in the kitchen at dinner time. It filled up half the school bus. And it took up whole rows at the movie theater. The worry became the only thing that Ruby could think about, and it seemed like she would never feel happy again. Then one day, something unexpected happened. Ruby noticed a boy sitting alone at the park. He looked how she felt, sad. And then she noticed something else, something hovering next to him. Could it be a worry? It was. Ruby realized that she wasn't the only person with a worry after all. Other people have them too. She asked the boy what was on his mind, and as he told her, the strangest thing happened. His worry began to shrink. Then Ruby did the best thing you can ever do if you have a worry. She talked about it. And as the words tumbled out, Ruby's worry began to shrink until it was barely there at all. Soon, both of their worries were gone. Finally, Ruby felt like herself again. Of course, that wasn't the last time she ever had a worry. Everyone gets them from time to time. But now that she knew how to get rid of them, they never hung around for long. That's the end of Ruby Finds a Worry. And as we are going to head out to our RE classes, I want us to think about maybe how this book relates to embodying resilience. And for the adults in the room, I wonder how it relates to your theme for the day. Okay, so now if you are in a row with a rainbow arch, you can hold it up, and we will sing the children out with our children's recessional as you go. If you are leaving, you cannot hold up a rainbow arch. As you go, let joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Our love is with you always. As you go, joy surround you. As you go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go in peace.
We make space every Sunday for authentic and vulnerable sharing, which helps build this community, this congregation, into a beloved community. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Your joy is multiplied in its sharing. Your sorrow is lightened in its sharing. The stories that are shared weave together to strengthen our community as we care for one another. You are welcome to come up and pick up a stone or stones from the table, infuse or charge it with your joy or sorrow, and place them in the singing bowl where their energy will ripple out to be held by all of us. If you'd like to verbally share something important on your heart, please come up and speak directly into the microphone. All are welcome to participate in any of these ways. We light 3 candles for the intentions that rest in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, one for the joys, one for the sorrows, and one for the strength of the gathered community that can support you and bring you peace. Our meditation moment today is a reading from Thomas Wolfe, Some Things Will Never Change. If you want to read along, it's in the back of the gray hymnal, number 555. Some things will never change. Some things will always be the same. The voice of forest water in the night, a woman's laughter in the dark, the clean, hard rattle of raked gravel, the cricketing stitch of midday in hot, wet meadows, the delicate web of children's voices in bright air. These things will never change. The glitter of sunlight on roughened water, the glory of the stars, the innocence of morning, the smell of the sea in harbors. These things will always be the same. The feathery blur and smoky budding of young boughs and something there that comes and goes and never can be captured, the thorn of spring, the sharp and tongueless cry. These things will never change. The leaf, the blade, the flower, the wind that cries and sleeps and wakes again, the trees whose stiff arms clash and tremble in the dark, and the dust of lovers long since buried in the earth. All things belonging to the earth will never change. All things proceeding from the earth to seasons, all things that lapse and change and come again upon the earth, these come up from the earth that never changes. They go back into the earth that lasts forever. Only the earth endures, but it endures forever. The tarantula, the adder, and the asp will never change. Pain and death will always be the same. But under the pavements, trembling like a pulse, under the buildings, trembling like a cry, under the waste of time, under the hoof of the beast, above the broken bones of cities, there will be something growing like a flower, something bursting from the earth again, forever deathless, faithful, coming into life again like April. Please remain seated for our meditation song, Sing Out, Loosen by Carolyn McDade.
And we are going to do this in a round. So we'll start this side, and then Mark will lead this side. We'll sing it all together once, and then we'll break it up.
Sing it twice, right?
And we'll sing it twice through, yeah.
Okay.
Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? You don't have the words. They don't have the words. They don't have the words.
We don't have the words.
Oh, no.
Is there no screen?
There's no screen.
Nobody told me.
Cool.
Sorry. It was beautiful. Keep singing it.
All right. We'll do it as a round, and you can cheer us on or hum along. Sorry about that.
What are we doing now?
Just do it again. We'll just do it once.
Let's, okay, just, all right.
Yep, because they don't have
Just
the words.
round ones?
Yep, sure.
Okay.
Sorry. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain?
There's some improv for you right there. If you guys don't know, Kelly does a lot with improv and acting, so that worked out great, yeah. Oops. Our offertory words are from John Saxon, "As a fire exists by burning." This religious community exists by its mission as a fire exists by burning. But a fire cannot burn without fuel, and it is the time, the energy, the imagination, the vision, the creativity, the compassion, the love, and the financial support of the members and friends of this community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming, inclusive, and diverse liberal religious community that transforms lives and serves the world. You are now invited to participate in the blessing of giving as the ushers come among you to accept the gifts of the congregation. You may also give online via the QR code that's on the back of the order of service. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received. Please join me in reciting the offertory blessing that can be found behind me or in your order of service. To the work of creating beloved community within and beyond these walls, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings. Reverend Jill Terwilliger is a grief and change coach at Anbau Coaching and hospice grief support counselor. She is a TEDx speaker whose work draws on experience in parish ministry, mental health advocacy, hospice chaplaincy, restorative justice, and the arts. Her work is grounded in the understanding that grief arises not only from death, but from all the transitions that reshape our lives. Born and raised a Unitarian Universalist, Jill was ordained to the ministry in 2000. She has lived along the I-94 corridor her whole life, from Milwaukee to Madison to Minneapolis and now Kalamazoo. Please welcome Jill.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. The reading is an excerpt from an article called "We Need New Models for How to Grieve" by Debbie Brown and was published in Time in April. Across history, grief has long been honored as a sacred rite of passage. In ancient traditions, it was seen not as something to fix, but something to feel. In Hindu and Vedic rituals, entire communities participate in prayers and mantras over the course of days, sometimes weeks. Among many indigenous tribes in the Americas, grief is a communal ceremony marked by crying, singing, storytelling, and acts of symbolic transformation like cutting hair. These are not just symbolic acts. They are energetic portals, ways of helping the soul move through the liminal space between loss and rebirth. Even in the Abrahamic faiths, grieving has a timeline and a structure. Jewish mourning rituals like Shiva offer both the mourner and the community a rhythm of presence and pause. Islam emphasizes prayer and remembrance over the course of several days. These traditions teach us that grief isn't meant to be private or rushed. It's meant to be honored. But when cultures lose these rituals, when grieving becomes invisible, the consequences are devastating. Take Japan, where the erosion of Shinto and Buddhist death rituals has coincided with the epidemic of overwork and suicide. The body knows when grief is not expressed. The spirit remembers what the mind tries to forget. The collective trauma of the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic taught us this. Post-2020, we are grieving more than just people. We are grieving the lives we thought we would have. The pandemic unearthed a collective ache that had long been buried beneath deadlines, distractions, and digital noise. Add to that the daily toll of burnout, racial trauma, economic precarity, and social fragmentation, and we are left with a deep, unspoken suffering that simmers just beneath the surface. We are trying to keep up in a world that won't slow down, even as our hearts are breaking. A member of one of my grief support groups brought that reading in last year, and as we talked about it, I asked the group, well, what would have been most helpful to you in your early grief? How could your communities have eased your suffering and the loneliness of that time? And what they described wasn't a lack of ritual or care. What they longed for was understanding. They wished the people around them weren't afraid to talk about their person, weren't confused when it felt hard to be in a crowd, and weren't surprised that grief didn't resolve in a few months. Again and again, they named the ache of being misunderstood, of having to explain themselves, stay silent, or manage other people's discomfort. What they wished for in the end was that their families, friends, and communities had known how to read the situation. They wished the people around them had been literate in grief. And from that conversation, this sermon was born. What would it mean to be a grief-literate community? And how might it change the way we live together? Grief is myriad. We grieve deaths, of course, but there is so much more. We grieve the marriage that ended and the one that stayed but became something else. We grieve spouses lost to death, to illness, to prison walls, to unbreachable silence. We grieve jobs we lost, jobs we kept, jobs that promoted us into lives that no longer fit. We grieve retirement and the quiet loss of usefulness and structure. We grieve bodies that age or betray us, the loss of safety, control, and trust in what our bodies once promised. We grieve pregnancies, the ones that come, the ones that don't, the ones that change everything. We grieve children leaving home and the strange ache of missing someone who is exactly where they should be. We grieve beloved animals whose love was uncomplicated and whose death leaves a cold spot on the couch. We grieve houses and addresses, mortgages and foreclosures. We grieve friends who died and friends who didn't, but drifted away. We grieve the possibility of reconciliation, love not received, things that could have been. We are all grievers, yet so many of us don't know the language. Experiencing grief doesn't inherently make one grief literate. Unless one is very young, literacy in a new language is built through study and practice. My dad died when I was 19. I really didn't know a thing about grief. I didn't even know to study grief. Instead, I dove into studying death and dying, which was interesting, but it didn't teach me about what was happening inside of me or how to adjust to a world, how to adjust to living in a world that didn't include my dad, or how to be with others who were grieving. So if you have experienced grief, and you're human, and most of you are adults, so I know you've experienced loss of some kind, If you have experienced grief and yet you don't feel comfortable and confident in the language of grief, that's no failing on your part. It's not a language we commonly teach. We become fluent through study and practice, so here to start are 5 basic things I want you to know on your path to becoming grief literate. 1, there is no right or wrong way to grieve. If you cry too much, people think you're doing it wrong. If you don't cry enough, people will think you're doing it wrong. But no one's doing it wrong. Every loss is unique. Each person finds their own way through it. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. Number 2, grief is messy. There are lots of frameworks we use to try to contain grief. The 4 tasks of grieving, the 5 stages of grief, the 6 needs of the mourning, but no framework can hold it all in and make grief neat. Grief loops and stretches, it backtracks, it surprises us, it refuses to stay tidy. Number 3, fluent speakers of grief know that grief is long. Researchers define early grief as the first 2 years after a significant loss. And yet psychological standards often label grief as pathological if it lasts beyond 6 months, or even 6 weeks, depending on which standard you're looking at. And that disconnect causes real harm. Grief is long. Number 4, the goal of grief is not to get back to who you were before the loss. The goal is to adapt to a changed world, a changed life. You will be okay again, but you will not be the same. There's no going back. And 5, people fluent in grief know that grief is not a problem to be fixed. Meaningful grief support, whether from family, friends, or professionals, doesn't focus on taking away the pain. It helps us live with it. It helps us carry grief as we figure out how to engage with life in new ways. Grief is not a problem to be fixed. These are things that grievers need to know to understand their own experiences. And these are things that communities need to know about grievers so we can be better companions. One consequence of our grief illiteracy is that many of us pull away when grief appears. We're afraid of saying the wrong thing, and after "I'm sorry for your loss," we're silent. Some of us pull back because our own losses are stirred. Others worry about the intensity of grief and whether they have the capacity to receive it. And underneath it all is the urge to fix suffering. It's so beautiful, but it's not the urge that grief requires. And grievers often go quiet too. We worry about being a burden, about taking up too much space with our sorrow. We might feel shame about emotions that don't fit the script, like anger or jealousy or relief. Inside families, silence can be meant as protection of each other, but felt like isolation. And many grievers carry the fear that if they begin to cry, they will never stop. But no feeling is final, and no one ever cries forever. The tragic result of this double silence is that we wait for each other, and everyone ends up alone. This isn't a moral failing. It's a lack of communal skill. It's a lack of literacy. So everything that I've said about individual grief is also true of communities, of congregations, and of civic life. Just like individual grief, we grieve much more than death in religious community. We grieve lingering arguments over theology, authority, mission, paint colors. We grieve ministers who leave and who we were with them. A colleague once said, "We want Unitarian Universalism to stay just as it was when we joined, and so we grieve when it continues to evolve." We grieve the friends who slip away. We grieve the rituals that change, the traditions that stop being passed from hand to hand. We grieve changed financial realities and quiet fears for the future. And we grieve even the good changes, growth, justice, becoming, because every becoming asks us to release something we loved. And grief doesn't stop at the doors of the congregation. Each day's news these days brings new exclamations of, "Can you believe this? How can they get away with that?" Until exhaustion sets in and even outrage becomes too much to feel. In this season of rising authoritarianism on American soil, I am grieving a functioning democracy, even one that has never worked equally well for all and has long been strained. I'm grieving the loss of trust in systems meant to protect and deliver justice, while acknowledging the truth that my ability to ever trust them was shaped by privilege. I'm grieving the loss of a sense of ethics, service, and accountability as guiding values at the highest levels of government, now replaced by power, personal enrichment, and retribution, even as I know that this tension has always lived within politics. And I'm grieving basic human decency, while also witnessing communities that continue to show us what it means to truly love your neighbor. I am grieving. Our communities are grieving. It is private and public. It is individual and shared, personal and systemic. Communities grieve the way people do because communities are collections of people. And when grief goes unrecognized, it doesn't disappear. It finds other ways to speak. It can harden into anger or rigidity, wear people down to burnout, or quietly push them out the door. When grief is avoided, the same conflicts resurface again and again. When it's rushed, we get the appearance of unity without the substance. And when grief remains invisible and untended, it slowly drains the life from a system, leaving people exhausted and disconnected. I want you to recall for a moment some disagreement or impasse or disruption that you've experienced in community, whether it's in church here or some other community you're part of. And as I tell this story, I want you to consider how unnamed, untended grief might have played a role in the situation. I once worked with a congregation that was struggling with big questions around growth and their historic building, a building literally built by the hands of their ancestors 3 and 4 generations earlier. On the surface, it was about a decision to build a new building to increase capacity and accessibility, or just adapt to the building they have as it had been for 4 generations. The same arguments resurfaced again and again. We never seemed to be able to move forward or get the conversation to come to a conclusion. What we eventually realized was that the elders felt unseen in their deep attachment to place, and their grief was making itself loud. Once that grief was named, honored, and tended, not as an excuse, but as a reality, something shifted. The differences didn't vanish. The decisions didn't suddenly become easy, but the tone changed. People softened. Curiosity returned. And what had felt like stubbornness revealed itself as sorrow and fear. So think again about the disruption I asked you to remember a few minutes ago. Saying that grief might be part of what's happening doesn't make the problem smaller or insignificant. It makes it more honest. It helps us understand why people are so tender, so reactive, so stuck. When we can see the grief at work, we're no longer guessing and blaming. We have a place to start. And grief literacy gives us some shared practices for meeting hard moments. So here are 3 communal practices to add to your grief literacy library. Ways of being together when loss is present and easy answers are not. The first is consent. One spiritual technology that Unitarian Universalists already practice well is consent culture. And it belongs not only to our conversations about bodies, but to our emotional and communal lives as well. It helps make us more thoughtful, more humane in our attempts to support one another in sorrow. In grief-literate communities, we slow down and ask. We check whether someone would like to hear a memory of their loved one, so we know that this is a day they can receive it. When we need to speak our own sorrow or lament, we ask whether someone has the capacity to receive it, and we accept no as an answer. We practice being clear about what we need and how we want to receive support, and we offer only what we can give freely and with care. This kind of consent practice doesn't drain intimacy, it makes it possible. The second communal practice is lament. Grief-literate communities reclaim it. In white Protestant culture, which has shaped us all, whether we chose it or not, suffering in silence, especially for women, has often been exalted as a virtue. But grief needs air. Naming our losses matters. It gives shape to what feels overwhelming and formless. Naming creates witness and validation, and it interrupts the quiet repetition of old wounds. When we can name what hurts, we gain the possibility of choice. How do we want to respond to this loss? What does care look like now? And the third practice is resisting urgency. In grief-literate communities, we make space for hard conversations and resist the pressure for quick resolution. We let grief be seen and held rather than rushed or solved. And we learn with humility what kind of support we're actually good at offering and what kind we're not. We are living in a time of enormous loss. Political grief, authoritarian incursion, the erosion of shared reality, chronic change. A grief-literate culture numbs itself and lashes out. A grief-literate community stays human. Staying human means choosing to name what hurts instead of pretending it doesn't. It means tolerating discomfort rather than demanding quick fixes. It means refusing invisibility for your own grief or for the grief of others. It means staying present to what is breaking without turning away or hardening our hearts. Grief literacy will not spare us loss, but it can spare us loneliness. And in time like this, that is no small thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill. That was, I think, eye-opening and very thoughtful. We're going to sing the closing hymn, which is called Carry This All by Alexandra A. Blakely. Kelly and Mark are going to lead us, I think, the first time through, and then we're going to sing it through all together about 6 times.
As many times as the Spirit moves us.
There you go.
If we feel like going, I'm going to add some harmony. If you want to add some harmony, you can.
The words will be projected. I just need, I think, let me see if I can get them up.
Are we waiting for the words?
Oh, we'll wait for the words.
Yep. Is the projector? I have the slide. It just needs the projector on. That's all. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
You do not carry this all alone. You do not carry this all alone. This is way too big for you to carry this on your own. So you do not carry this all alone.
Everyone.
You do not carry this all alone. You do not carry this on your own. This is way too big for you to carry this on your own. So you do not carry this on your own. You do not carry this all alone. You do not carry this all alone. This is way too big for you to carry this on your own. So you do not carry this on your own.
Feel free to harmonize, experiment.
You do not carry this all alone. You do not carry this all alone. This is way too big for you to carry this on your own. So not carry this all alone. One more time. You do not carry this all alone. You do not carry this all alone. This is way too big for you to carry this on your own. So you do not carry this all alone.
Go gently, carry what you must, release what you can, and trust that there are hands beyond your own. You do not carry this on your own.